Burden the block. And Nix will throw it. It is caught. Touchdown! Touchdown! Mims got the ball!
Career. They go quick again here. Second down. Has time this time. Loads going deep. Has a man. Naylor. He's got it. Touchdown, Minnesota.
It is Jaden Daniels end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. Zach Ertz takes Washington into the playoffs.
New year, same Kenny C show, bringing the heat every single week. Happy New Year's to everybody out there, my football fans, my sports fans, my Kenny C show subscribers. This is your New Year's resolution for those of you that don't subscribe. Subscribe to the Kenny C show because all the action from 2024 going straight into 2025, we don't stop producing. Shout out to all my haters who have been in the comment section from 2024, making it spicy in the comment section. I love it. Bring it on, baby. Bring it on. Football season in January, the most pivotal time of the year. This is when it gets really good and really heated. Week 18, we got some spicy action. Let me tell you what we will discuss in this video. We got two top dogs in the NFC vying for the 1 seed, the Vikings and the Lions. We'll get into some Packers talk with them coming oh so close to beating top dog teams in the 5 losses that they have. But being a very young team, they just got to find a way to finish the games. We'll get into that. We'll also talk about the AFC. You have 1 playoff spot left, the 7 seed, 3 teams going for it. We'll break all of that down. You just got to stay with me. Let's get into some 1 seed talk. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get into some 1 seed talk. Vikings, Lions, in Detroit, week 18. When was the last time that we had 2 teams fighting for the 1 seed and it come down to the final game of the season? 1993. Let's flash you back. Do I got a dream harp or something? We had the Cowboys. We had the Giants. Both 11-4. And the Cowboys on the back of Emmitt Smith, who separates his shoulder before the first half concludes. He plays through it. He fights on into the second half and into overtime. 168 rushing yards for Emmitt Smith and 61 receiving yards en route to a 16-13 victory over Phil Simms and Big Blue. The Cowboys end up going on a run and win their 2nd consecutive Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. Super Bowl MVP honors goes to Emmitt and league MVP honors. Let's get back to current day. Week 7, the Vikings are 5-0. Detroit says, nah, not for long. Let's end this. A 44-yarder with 15 seconds off the foot of Jake Bates. That was a 31-29 victory for Detroit. I don't expect anything different in this one in terms of that game going to the final distance. I'm calling overtime. I think in this one, however, Minnesota's hot. They're coming off a big win over Green Bay, in which Green Bay could not get any pressure on Darnold. 14 of 44 dropbacks is all they could pressure Sam Darnold, and it did not lead to good results for the Packers. I'm calling a 35-32 victory for Minnesota in Detroit. We got marquee matchups in this one. Probably not going to see Montgomery, so you got Gibbs and Jones again. They both did their thing in the first matchup. Same with Amon-Ra and Jettas. This time you got TJ Hawkinson going up against Sam Laporta. This is matchups galore. Jamo Williams against Jordan Addison. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat for this game, and I'm a Packers fan. Now here's why I'm giving Minnesota the edge. 18 players on IR for Detroit. A lot of them marquee players on the defense. No Alex Anzalone. No Marcus Davenport. No Alim McNeil. No Carlton Davis. Derek Barnes. Kyle Pecco. John Kaminsky. That's a lot to have to deal with. And you look at how Sam Darnold adjusted to the Packers' pressure against Green Bay. He looks real good, and that line looks real good. Darnold under O'Connell has been phenomenal, reinvented his career. I expect no different. I think the Lions will struggle to put pressure on Darnold, and that is why I give the Vikings the edge in a shootout game. What do you guys think? Who's getting that 1 seed? Now we got to segue this thing into some Green Bay Packers talk, because Green Bay is the third best team in the NFC North. Insane at 11-5. This division is jam-packed, and you got 3 out of the 4 top dogs, I'd say, excluding the Eagles, in the NFC North. The Packers in a pivotal game against Minnesota in terms of vying for seeding in the playoffs. They fall to them 27-25. Another 2-point loss to Minnesota. You look at the losses that the Packers have had this year out of their 5. They lost by 3 to the Eagles. They lost by 3 or 2 to the Minnesota Vikings the last time they played them. They lost 24-14 in Week 9 against Detroit, 34-31 against them in Week 14. That's another 3-point loss. But in all of those losses, excluding the Eagles, let's just hone in here on the NFC North losses, the division losses that they have suffered. The problem with Green Bay, you cannot go down by that much to these teams early on in the game. It has to be fight versus fight, big dog versus big dog, competitive to the end. You can't go into holes and expect to win the game. In Week 4, they're down 28-0 to Minnesota. That's a very, very large hole to try to crawl out of. In this game, this past Sunday, 20-3 to Minnesota. They were down 24-3 against Detroit in Week 9. They were down 17-7 to Detroit in Week 14. You just cannot have that if you want to win these types of games. Now, if the Packers beat the Bears in Week 18, they will be the first 12-win team to have a losing divisional record since the merger in 1970. If they lose to the Bears, God forbid, they will be the worst 11. They will have the worst division record of an 11-win team since the merger in 1970. So pretty bad for the Packers in terms of their divisional record. But these games have been climb out of the hole and let's see if we can fight. You can't score 15 in the fourth and come all the way back and leave it up to the fourth quarter against the Vikings and then try to win the game. It's just not going to happen. Cam Akers and CJ Ham both had their fair share of pivotal moments for this Vikings offense in that game. More specifically, Cam Akers had the touchdown and then the first down catch to ice the game. Nobody was in the flat on that play. What the hell are we doing? You had to expect that O'Connell was going to say, nah, you know what? We're gonna pass here and try to knock them out of this game completely and finish it off. Green Bay, with the offense, Jordan Love, they looked very bad in the first half. For an offense that prides itself on explosive plays, not having Christian Watson is a huge loss. This is an offense that prides itself on the 10-plus, 20-plus yard pass plays. They had 1 out of 5 for Love in this game, which was the one pass to Tucker Kraft. That's not good. 7 penalties. This team has struggled with being disciplined for a majority of the year. You can't have too many men on the field, and you can't have illegal shifts and illegal motions. 7 penalties. 3 of them costed the Packers a first down or a touchdown. 2 of them on defense gave Minnesota a first down. The field goal before the half, the neutral zone infraction by Edge Cooper, was total BS by the refs. But if you look at that, because I know the Vikings fans are going to try to come at me, Will Reichard missed 2 field goals. So that right there is the deciding factor. Even if the Packers stop the Vikings on that drive, don't get the penalty, and they don't get that field goal, if Reichard makes both, they're still probably up 3. But then on the other side of things, LaFleur goes for it in the second quarter on 4th and 2, and Reed has a critical drop. Another thing that the Packers have really struggled with. Receivers making timely catches and not dropping balls. So actually the game would have gone to overtime, because if the Packers would have just settled, it would have been 7-6 at that point. Instead they go for it. The floor says risk it, no biscuit, let's go for it. Reed makes a drop. On their second drive, Dontavian Wicks, deep ball from Love, he has a crucial drop. That was on second down, they end up punting. You cannot have drops. You cannot play undisciplined if you want to beat these top teams, especially when it goes to the playoffs, where Green Bay's probably going to get the 7th seed if Washington wins against the Cowboys in Week 18. Even if Green Bay wins, they'd be a 7th seed. They'd play Philly. That's not a recipe for success. Javon Bullard missed the last 2 games with an ankle injury. He got torched in this one. Jalen Naylor was doing his thing. Bullard, 72 yards, targeted 6 times, 6 catches on him. Not a good game for him. The Packers defense, or Packers offense against man coverage. Love faced man coverage on 47.1% of plays. LaFleur even said in the postgame, I had no answer for it. That's not what you want to hear. Minnesota played man. The Packers missing Christian Watson, who's one of the best explosive receivers against man coverage. That's a big loss. The secondary, you give them some sort of a benefit of a doubt because still no Jair Alexander, no Evan Williams, so they're playing banged up. Hopefully Jair can get healthy for the first round of the playoffs because they absolutely need him. Same with Evan Williams. Edge Cooper continues to be a disruptor. He continues to be awesome, probably the most consistent player on this defense in my opinion. The Packers just have to find ways to put the games away. They have to find a way to not fall into a hole. That's rule number 1 against these teams. You can't have it if you want to win. What do you guys think? Packers fans, let me hear your thoughts. How deep can this Green Bay team go? What's going on here? How do we get over that hump and go on a run? Hey, 2010, 2011, we were the wild card. We beat the Eagles in the first round. Just saying, I know it's a lot different, two completely different teams, but I'm just saying maybe history repeats itself. What do you guys think? And to wrap up the first video of 2025, the last spot in the AFC playoffs, AFC playoff picture comes down to the 7th seed. Who's going to get it? Let me give you the scenarios first. Denver, with a win over the Chiefs, they're in. Miami, with a win over the Jets and a Denver loss to the Chiefs, they are in. And probably the most unlikely option, process of elimination, I'm going to cross out the Bengals, but they have to get a win over Pittsburgh and then have Denver and Miami lose. With the way the Jets looked against this past week, with the way that the Jets looked against the Bills, getting destroyed, Rodgers playing probably the worst game of his career and definitely the worst game that I've ever seen him play, I don't think the Jets are going to beat Miami in that game. So Miami's probably a shoo-in for that, for a W. Cincinnati's out. I don't think that you're going to get a loss from Miami in that one, even if they beat Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with Denver here. I think Denver can beat the Chiefs. I think they can. Mahomes is probably not going to play the game. He's going to probably start maybe the first drive or two. Then it's going to be a Carson Wentz game for the rest of the way. Because you can't risk a guy who recently suffered a high ankle sprain in Patrick Mahomes. You just can't have that. So I'm going to go with Denver to get the upset, to beat the Chiefs at home. They're rocking the creamsicle jerseys from the 70s. Week 10, they lost by 2 points off a blocked field goal at the end of the game. But if you recall, in that game, Lutz missed a field goal before the half ended. You had the Chiefs who got a field goal. The Denver defense made a big stop on their own 2-yard line and forced Bucker to kick a field goal. And then they failed to stop the Chiefs on a 4th and 2 again. And the Chiefs got a touchdown to Travis Kelce. So if Denver tightens up a bit right then and there, and Lutz makes the field goal before the half, they win that game. And that's with Patrick Mahomes and the whole 9 yards. So I think with what we saw from Bo Nix in that awesome win awesome loss to the Bengals, in which he was on target with Marvin Mims, throwing absolute dimes for touchdowns in that 4th quarter. Overtime, they got stagnant, but that's besides the point. That was a shootout game. He had missed field goals from Cincy, opportunities for Bo Nix and company. In this game, I firmly believe that if Wentz is leading that Chiefs offense, that the Denver Broncos harassed Mahomes in the first matchup. I think they get after Wentz, and I think they get the job done. I think Denver gets that 7 seed. What say you guys? I want to hear it. I want any and all comments in the comment section below. 2025 is upon us. More Kenny C content coming, so you want to subscribe.